Hey, I'm Noodle Yeti. In today's guide, we're delving deep into the nitty-gritty of road hierarchy and city skylines. Think of it as your first and crucial baby steps towards becoming a traffic controlling guru. With a well-established road hierarchy, you'll have the power to spread traffic out thinly or concentrate it to your liking. Trust me, without this knowledge, your city would be suffering from an unhealthy dose of traffic indigestion. In the world of city skylines, roads are like the city's cardiovascular system. They transport citizens, commodities, essentials, and emergency services, basically keeping your city's heartbeat steady. The road pecking order, if you will, starts with local roads, climbs up to collectors, scales further to arterials, and ultimately to the big boss, highways. Now, remember this golden rule. The further up you go in hierarchy, the fewer intersections you want. Think of local roads as the chatty social butterflies with loads of intersections, whereas highways are like hermits who prefer to live intersection-free. As for how many lanes each road type should have, well, that's your chef's special. It all depends on your city's density. Imagine a country setting. A simple 2-lane arterial and humble dirt roads as collectors and local roads could do the trick. Now, here's an essential tidbit. Roads are like marathon runners. The more hurdles, intersections, that you throw in, the slower their pace. Oddly enough, the game doesn't consider the number of intersections when directing traffic. So if you sprinkle a highway with intersections like it's a pepperoni pizza, you'll end up with traffic slower than a tortoise on a treadmill. But because the highway's speedier limit, your digital citizens will still pick this traffic-jammed route. Let's zoom in on highways now, shall we? Every standard game map rolls out the welcome mat with a highway connection. In the early days, this highway is your city's lifeblood for exporting and influx of people. They're the city's interstellar hyperspace lanes, designed for zippy, long-distance travel. And fewer interchanges on them means your citizens can get from point A to point B in a snap. When I craft my highways, I play a game of spread the intersections, aiming to keep these points of cross-traffic as distant from each other as possible. My rule of thumb is 1 intersection or interchange per game tile, based upon the city's density and the number of highways in play. But hey, there's no hard or fast rule here. We see back-to-back interchanges in the real world, don't we? There's a minor speed bump though. In the early stages, highways are like an exclusive club. You just don't have access to them. But don't worry, you can start sketching out a couplet system as a blueprint for your future highway network, if that's your jam. Next on our cityscape tour are Arterials, the road warriors meant to conquer medium to long distances within your city at a breezy pace. These are also ideally your welcome portals to the highways. But there's an exception to our road hierarchy here, and it's all about public service. Given that our city design kit lacks driveways or median turn lanes, I like to innovate. I use a short stretch of local road branching off of an arterial pretending to be a driveway. It's a neat trick that lets traffic pause at the public service, as it lets traffic pause as the public service swings out onto the main road, providing flexibility for them to turn in either direction. Because sometimes vehicles can only turn right from their buildings, especially when there's a median on the road. Locating public services off of arterials grants them VIP access to the entire city in a jiffy. When it comes to zoning, my green thumb kicks in, and I leave these spaces lush and verdant. If I absolutely must zone something here, it would be offices. They're the introverts of the City Skylines building world, generating the least amount of traffic. However, in the latest Hotels and Retreats DLC, it brings in a new character, the business tourist, who jets into town just to drop by a specific office building. I missed out on that detail in the tourism video. Whoops, my bad. Sorry. Now, arterials can handle a dash more intersections than highways, but remember our marathon runner analogy? Too many intersections and your traffic will move at a snail's pace, so tread carefully. On the topic of intersections, let's chat about collectors. These are the only roads that should be hobnobbing with arterials, apart from the makeshift driveways for services. These roads are exactly what they sound like: traffic custodians. They gather vehicles from local roads or arterials and shuttle them back and forth, like hard-working bees in a hive. Picture collectors as guiding the lifeblood of traffic from the arterials to the capillaries. And as with arterials, my zoning mantra here is go green or go home. But if zoning is a must, I'd opt for offices. Although I do bend the rules for a sprinkle of commercial in residential areas. The number of connections on your collectors can vary. It's a bit like a buffet. You can choose from a few options or go all out. For city blocks nestled snugly between arterials, fewer connections would be wise since cross-traffic is using the collectors as a shortcut between those arterials. But as you venture outward to the city's outskirts, feel free to throw in more local connections to your collector. It's your city after all. And now, let's stroll down to local roads, the pulsating veins of your city. This is where your digital citizens live, work, and indulge in retail therapy. It's also the stage where tourists sashay in, soak in the sights, and then wave goodbye. You can use local roads as you see fit. Fancy a lone road hugging the base of a mountain, or perhaps quaint lanes tracing the curves of a river or lake? Or do you prefer the ironclad American grid, a symbol of efficient density where the individual loses out to the collective? For bustling, high-density areas and zoned industrial spaces, I'd give a thumbs up to more connections. It helps spreads the traffic load, which is pretty hefty in these zones. However, for low-density zones, too much connectivity could be a party pooper. It swallows up potential homes in exchange for redundant infrastructure. Longer stretches of roads are your allies here, offering more zoning spaces and handling the gentle streams of traffic they generate. Remember our handy driveway trick with local roads along arterials? I also use their one-way versions to create smooth flowing loops for any sort of major transportation, be it people or cargo. Well, folks, I think we've nailed down the ABCs of road hierarchy. Let's do a quick recap. Local roads play friendly with collectors only, with the odd exceptions when they moonlight as driveways or handle roundabout transportation duties. Collectors in turn bridge these local roads to the bustling arterials. And our arterials, they ferry traffic across your city and serve as gateways to highways. I sincerely hope you've picked up some useful tip or trick from this video. So yeah, thanks for hanging out, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye bye.